So I might today have a couple of allies in this, but I was a teenager in the 90s. If I'm doing my math right, I turned 13 in 1991, and thus 7 years later turned 20 in 1998. So all of my teenage years were in the 90s, and most of the 90s for me were my teenage years. And I remember the 90s being a decade of hope. Some of that was because I was a teenager. I was going through high school and college. I was finding a new way to be in the world. I was growing into adulthood. And since things like 9/11 and wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and recessions would wait until after I had graduated from college, it felt like the future was just wide open. Like anything was possible. Like everything would be okay. And some of that, too, was the world. I remember watching on TV as the Berlin Wall came down in the very late 80s. I remember watching countries that had been part of the Soviet Union or Soviet satellites start ambling vaguely and uncertainly in the direction of democracy. I remember Nelson Mandela being released from prison after spending 27 years there. I remember the first elections in South Africa that were not based entirely on race. I remember the end of apartheid and some of the messiness that came with that. I remember the Oslo Accords and all of the hope that those engendered for peace between Israel and Palestine. I remember so many things that were the world getting better. I remember people singing about how right here, right now, there is no other place they would rather be, and about how the winds of change were sweeping through the world. I remember that there was one political scientist who was so certain that things were going to be different from now on, that he wrote an entire book declaring the end of history. It was, at least in my memory, a time of hope, and a time when I was hopeful for what was to come. I will admit that I don't feel as hopeful anymore. Some of that is me. I'm 47 now, I think. Late 40s at least, past the time when I actually keep track of how old I am. I've had a little more experience. I've been disappointed a few more times. I'm less sure that everything will be okay. Some of that is the world. I don't think I need to recite the litany of stuff going on that might make me a little less hopeful about the direction in which the world is heading. It is hard to feel hopeful at times like this. In the 90s, I felt hopeful because I was sure everything was going to work out. And today, I feel less hopeful because I am less sure that everything is going to work out and a little more sure that everything is just going to fall apart. And here I am, kind of stuck in the middle, wondering what will happen, waiting for the world to change. It is the first Sunday of Advent. That wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey season that starts off the liturgical year. That season where we look back in anticipation of the day when the God who is love will come into the world as one of us among a dispossessed people in an occupied land to parents who couldn't find a place to stay for the night. And when we look towards the future, when the God who is love, who came into the world as one of us, will come again, when Christ will appear gloriously, when God's reign of love will blossom all around us. Advent is a time of now and not yet, a time of past and future, a time when nothing is quite certain, when we don't know where or when we are. And our reading today is not a reading looking forward to Jesus being born. It is a reading looking forward to Christ coming again. It is Jesus telling his disciples, telling the people what it's going to be like. There will be two in a field, and one will be swept away and one will be left. There will be two at work, and one will be swept away and one will be left. It will be like a thief coming in the night, and you don't know when it's going to be, and you don't know what's going to happen. So stay awake, be aware, keep watch. This passage has sometimes been used to support an idea of a rapture, a day when a bunch of people will be taken up into heaven, a day when a bunch of people will be allowed to avoid tribulation and death, a day when others will be left behind to deal with everything. But if you read carefully, that's not what is happening here. Jesus makes clear it will be as in the days of Noah, when everybody's just getting along, doing their stuff, out and about, working and playing and having a life. And then there was a flood, and some people were washed away, and a few people were left behind to get on an ark to restore the world. Being swept away in this little story, this little bit of imagery, is not good. It is being taken over by the flood and washed out. Being left behind means possibility. But of course, the aftermath of a flood, which if you've ever experienced it, is a huge mess, and you have to rebuild from nothing. Jesus is saying, when God's reign of love comes, when it blossoms around us, there will be those who are there and those who have been swept away. And being there is better, even if being there means building something new. And then he says, no one knows the day or the hour. No one knows when this will happen. And if you don't know, then you should stay awake. You should stay alert. You should stay primed to what is going on around you. You should know what is happening so that you can respond to what is happening, so that you can do what you need to do to not get swept away, to not have the thief break in and take everything from you. Stay awake, stay alert, stay aware. There is this idea of hope. There is this idea of life that says it's either going to be one way or the other. I'm either going to be swept away or left behind, and there's nothing I can do about it. Either everything will be terrible or everything will be great, and there is nothing that I can do about it. I'm just along for the ride. I'm just here waiting to see what is going on. Maybe the most I can do is pray. Maybe the most I can do is show up for church. Maybe the most I can do is just make sure I'm in a safe spot. But the flood is coming either way, and I don't know how high the water is going to rise. And I'm just going to have to leave it up to God to sort everything out. And that is not hope. That's fatalism. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with fatalism, but we've got to be honest about fatalism. Fatalism is that belief that everything will be terrible no matter what I do, or everything will be awesome no matter what I do, or things will just continue no matter what I do, so there's not really any point in my doing a whole lot. I should just go about my day. I should just do my stuff. I should just be busy. Or be relaxed, and the world will be, and the future will come, and what will happen will happen. But in the end, I don't matter. Hope is different. Hope is different. Hope is that little seed that says, what I do makes a difference. What I do actually has an effect on the world. And I might not be able to see the end of that. I might not be able to see the end of the path or the way up the mountain. But I can go forward a little bit. I can do something that matters a little bit. I can nurture God's reign of love around me a little bit. And as I walk the path, I will see the next part of the path. As I climb the mountain, I will see the next leg up the mountain. As I take that handhold, I will see the next one. And I can keep going. I can keep going. I can keep going. I can keep changing things. I can keep mattering. I can keep making a distance. I can keep nurturing God's reign of love all around me. And better yet, I can do that with others. We together can nurture God's reign of love all around us. We together can go on this path. We together can climb this mountain. We together can make a difference until a difference is made. Because we together are on the side of God. We together are working with God. We together are abiding in God, which means abiding in love, which means filling the world with a little bit more love every time, every day, every moment. And if we do that, we cannot guarantee that everything will be okay, certainly not right now, but we can hope that through our work and through our abiding in God and through God abiding in us and through the changes we are making in the world and through the nurturing of God's reign of love that we are doing, things will get better. Things will be better. Love will flood into the world a little bit more, and wouldn't it be nice to be swept away by love rather than water? And if we do nothing, then everything will be delayed. It'll just get worse. To believe that everything will just get worse no matter what we do, or to believe that everything will just get better no matter what we do, is to believe without hope. It is to believe in hopelessness. And hopelessness is not what God calls us to. We were not meant to be idle. We were not meant to be asleep. We were meant to be awake and alert and aware, doing the work that must be done in this world, doing the work that must be done to bring about God's reign of love, being God's hands, God's feet, God's mouth, being, dare I say it, the body of Christ, here and now, in this interregnum between the past and the future. That is the light that we light against the darkness of hopelessness. That is hope. So let us be hopeful. Let us be filled with hope, and let that hope motivate us to nurture God's reign of love in this room and on this property and in this neighborhood and in this town and in this county and in this state and in this country and in this world and everywhere that we can, believing that we are making a difference, believing that God is making a difference through us, believing that God will flood the world with love, and that all of us will be swept away by love into God's reign forever and ever.